Cancel culture is a real phenomenon and a dangerous one. Lives have been destroyed by it. History has been rewritten. A generation of ridiculous cry bullies have been empowered in all the worst ways imaginable. Cancel culture is an epidemic. But cancel culture is also, at this point, a slogan that makes for fodder for 3-minute Fox News segments. Along with being a real problem, it is as well cheap and easy boomer bait. Cancel culture is bad, and you can always earn cheap applause by saying cancel culture is bad. This doesn't mean that we should stop saying it or that we should stop fighting cancel culture, but it does mean that when someone claims that something or someone is being canceled, we should stop and take a moment to scrutinize those claims. Because, the fight against cancel culture, because it makes for a quick Fox News segment and because there is applause to be earned by pretending you're a part of the fight, that means there's an incentive to pretend that you are the victim of cancel culture or that something else is the victim of cancel culture, when in fact that isn't true. Now, the good news is that it only takes a little bit of critical thinking, a little bit of digging to sort through all this and get to the truth. And that brings us to the latest alleged cancel culture victim, the 70s rock band Queen. The headlines started pouring in fast and furious yesterday. Queen has been canceled. The woke mob is at it again. Specifically, one Queen song called Fat Bottom Girls has fallen prey to political correctness, we're told. As The Independent reports, quote, Queen fans left fuming as Fat Bottom Girls left off greatest hits release. The Sun declares Queen drops classic track from greatest hits due to woke cancel culture. The Daily Mail says classic Queen song Fat Bottom Girls is mysteriously dropped from the group's new greatest hits collection. The conservative website The Federalist had this headline, amid era of body positivity, Queen's Fat Bottom Girls gets canceled. Meanwhile, the New York Post in an editorial pleaded, don't stop Fat Bottom Girls from making the rocking world go round. Right on cue, social media was flooded with posts lamenting the cancellation of Queen and their classic song about girls with fat bottoms. The topic was trending on Twitter all day long, and nearly everyone seemed to agree that this cancellation was outrageous, ludicrous, Orwellian. Many conservative pundits, including ones that I like and respect, expressed their outrage over this. And of course, Fox News got in on the action. In their article, they claim that, quote, legendary rock band Queen's 1978 classic Fat Bottom Girls has become cancel culture's latest victim. And here's how Fox News covered the issue in a segment yesterday. Watch.
Got to get your thoughts on this just so I can say this line. We will woke you. That's the headline in the Daily Mail as Queen's classic song, Fat Bottom Girls, mysteriously goes missing from the group's new greatest hits collection. Joe, your reaction?
I mean, you watch that movie, Robbie Malek, and it was a great portrayal of Queen and how they came to be one of the biggest bands of the 70s. And they were politically incorrect at the time. You remember their producers wanted them to play it safe as far as what songs they released, and Bohemian Rhapsody, how could you possibly even do a song like that? It's completely off the grid. They took chances, Queen did. And now to see this, and Robbie Malek obviously is not a late Robbie Malek, I don't think he would stand for this. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't if I believed that the portrayal that I saw in that movie. So yeah, to say, all right, that song never existed is utterly ridiculous.
Well, he's absolutely right. We should not pretend the song never existed. We should not erase the song from every platform. We shouldn't go look for a Freddie Mercury statue to tear down. But here's the good news. None of that is happening. Okay? It's all fake. In fact, Queen is not canceled at all. This song is not canceled. The entire story is fake. This is a lot of fake outrage over nothing, as it turns out. Here's what's really happening. One single audio platform has decided to start offering Queen's greatest hits collection without that one song. That song has not been removed from the greatest hits collection on every platform or on any platform except for just this one. And the thing you should know about this one platform where Fat Bottom Girls will not be available is that it is specifically an audio platform for children. The platform is called Yoto. It is an audio player without a screen that plays music and audiobooks. Now, to give you an idea of the age range this device is designed for, here are just 3 of the audiobook titles it offers, okay? Stuart Little, Winnie the Pooh, and Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood 5-minute stories. In other words, this is a device not just for kids, but for very young kids. On its website, the Yoto players are listed with an age range of 3 to 12. The company very specifically curates material that is supposed to be appropriate for preschool-aged kids. And they judged that Fat Bottom Girls probably isn't appropriate for that age, and they left it off, which to me seems extremely reasonable and certainly not worth an outraged segment on Fox News. Are you ready to discover the incredible benefits of a good night's sleep? It's time to awaken your senses and embrace the importance of restful slumber. Dive into the world of sleep and introduce yourself to an amazing product that could revolutionize your nighttime routine. Beam Dream is a game changer. Their Dream Powder, a hot cocoa designed specifically for sleep, could transform your nights with flavors like cinnamon cocoa and chocolate peanut butter that make it a treat to sip on before bedtime. Dream contains a powerful all-natural blend, even including magnesium to help you fall asleep, stay asleep, and help you wake up refreshed. Just mix Beam Dream into hot water or milk, stir or froth, and enjoy before bedtime every night. Your body and mind deserve the gift of restful nights. Try Beam's best-selling Dream Powder. Get up to 40% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Walsh and use code Walsh to check out. That's shopbeam.com/Walsh and use code Walsh for up to 40% off. Now, I can't vouch for this platform at all, really, to be clear. I mean, they may well have books and other songs that I would not consider appropriate for little kids. I have no idea either way. I haven't checked. In fact, if anything, the real problem here is not that they excluded that one Queen song, but that they are including every other Queen song. You know, there are some other Queen songs I can think of off the top of my head that I wouldn't want my kids singing along to, especially when they're 3 years old. But that's not the point. The point is that people, conservatives especially, are apparently angry that a song called Fat Bottom Girls is not being made available for 3-year-olds on a children's audio device. A song, by the way, that contains these lyrics. Okay, this is the song that Fox News is so upset that they're not going to play for kids. These are the lyrics. I was just a skinny lad, never knew no good from bad, but I knew life before I left my nursery. Left alone with big fat Fanny, she was such a naughty nanny. Heap big woman, you made a bad boy out of me. Oh, won't you take me home tonight, down beside your red firelight, and you give it all you got, Fat Bottom Girls, you make the rockin' world go round. Now, if this sounds like this is a song about an overweight nanny molesting a child in the nursery, that's because that's exactly what the song is about, okay? That is the song. It's not a hidden message. There's nothing subtle about it. Freddie Mercury is singing about a kid in a nursery being made into a, quote, bad boy by a, quote, naughty nanny, who also happens to be big and fat. Okay? You don't need to read the lyrics upside down and backwards or search for invisible ink in between the lines to understand what's happening in the song. It's very clear. It's not cancel culture to suggest that perhaps we wouldn't want a 5-year-old to go around singing along to those kinds of lyrics. And in fact, even if you take out the extremely clear and undeniable references to child molestation, still the song is vulgar and stupid. Okay, even if it was just a song about having sex with women with large butts, which seems to be what most people assume, it still would clearly be inappropriate content for young kids. And I say that not because I'm politically correct, but because I'm something called a parent. Now, I understand that the song was made 50 years ago, which by sheer passage of time makes it a classic. But despite what wistful boomers might tell you, not everything that pop culture produced in the 60s and 70s was an artistic masterpiece that we should teach our kids. In fact, a lot of the stuff from that era was degenerate and stupid. It doesn't suddenly become brilliant once it reaches the 50-year mark. You heard the lyrics. Again, putting aside all the child molestation stuff, which is kind of hard to put aside. But these are just dumb lyrics. This is not something. This is a masterpiece. This is true art, kids. If you heard that exact same song today and it didn't exist at any other point before, you would hear that song and say, this is the dumbest freaking song I've ever heard in my life. Yet it was made 50 years ago, and suddenly it's a classic. This is amazing. This is real music. Cardi B's music is incredibly gross and bad today. In the year 2070, it'll be considered a classic, an oldie from simpler times. But it'll still be gross and bad. And in fact, this is an important point that is so often lost. If you lament the degeneracy and stupidity of current pop culture, you should realize that current pop culture didn't fall out of the sky one day or come lumbering out of the ocean like a twerking Godzilla. No, it is the end result of a process that can be traced back to the 70s and before. It's all part of the same heritage. Pop artists today like to sing very dumb and crass songs about sex. Bands like Queen paved the way with their own very dumb and crass songs about sex. It doesn't make sense to be offended by fat bottom girls if you think that WAP is a musical masterpiece. That's true. And I've heard a lot of people pointing that out. Well, you're offended by fat bottom girls, but what about WAP? Okay, and anyone who likes WAP but thinks fat bottom girls is offensive, you're right. You got a good point. But it also doesn't make sense to be offended by WAP if you think that Fat Bottom Girls was a musical masterpiece. That doesn't make sense either. Now, artists back then were actual musicians. They actually composed the music. They played the instruments, which is far more than we can say for pop artists today. But these artists, including the artists in Queen, were also, for the most part, drugged out, sex-crazed, godless, degenerate, pervert heathens, explicitly promoting that kind of lifestyle to their listeners. We should at least be honest about that, rather than acting like current pop culture came out of nowhere, as if there was no precedent for any of this stuff. But then again, boomers in general like to look around at the culture today and pretend that we are not living in exactly the world that they created. So this is in keeping with that theme. They lament the vulgarity of modern music while also lamenting that Fat Bottom Girls isn't being placed into a catalog alongside Winnie the Pooh. It's totally absurd. And that is ultimately why the people complaining about Queen getting canceled, when Queen, in fact, is not getting canceled, are today canceled. If you'd like to see what else I have to say, you can access my full show by going to dailywire.com or by going to the Matt Walsh Show Twitter page. Hope to see you there. Godspeed.